Then the people listening who are skeptical, which is great to be, because I'm skeptical of everything as well, they'll say, well, they're just reading different people's experiences and then subconsciously or purposefully making it their own. And that's why they all sound similar. But then I go back to what Dr. John Mack would say, you know, this Pulitzer Prize winning author, not that I respect the Pulitzer Prize really anymore, but, you know, this guy who started as a skeptic started to collect these experiences that were so similar. And what I was going to say is this guy had a really similar experience to you and what happened with him, and with a head transplant, not head transplant, that's a whole other show we've done, a head implant. And it's weird. And people looked at him like he was crazy. His own family looked at him like he was crazy. But he knows other people with similar situations who definitely didn't know his situation, you know. Maybe they read about it somewhere else. But something he did that I don't know if it's safe or not, or how you feel about it, I'm going to ask you, would you do hypnosis to try to open up that memory, or do you think that's even something you'd mess with?
Oh, yeah, I would do that. There's hypnosis where you're still fully conscious, and that's a pretty safe space. I know people who do that. I probably know 5 people who do hypnosis.
Right. So but when you wake back up from that experience, where are you after that? Like, are you back in the mountain?
I'm just there by that lake. Spend the night. I was backpacking, so it was like a 2 or 3 day trip.
Wow.
Climbing more 14,000 footers the next day.
How long was it until you told anybody?
26 years. I only came out. I went to Archives of the Impossible at Rice University, organized by Dr. Jeff Kripal. And there were a lot of experiencers around, people that write books, that are well-known podcasters, like many, and we're all friends, and we all talk to each other. And so I kind of felt safe to come out then. So 26 years later.
So you've had like a whole career and a family, and you're not telling anybody about these situations that are pretty important to your life and the way you perceive reality. Is it just because how taboo it's been for so long, up until recently?
Yes, it's very taboo. I mean, in the workplace, that's completely taboo. I mean, professionals, we're all serious about things, right?
What do you make? What do you make of the conversation shifting out of the taboo in recent years?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I have a lot of experiencer friends that have suffered hugely because my abduction was very easy on me. Just some minor hearing problems, right? But some people have major physical problems, and it leads to divorce, losing jobs, you name it, being outcast from their churches or whatever their social groups are.
Right.
Not picking on churches. It's just, too much for people to bear. It's a very dark thing, right? And
it changes the whole nature of your perception of reality. I spent a lot of time in a town in Georgia, and there was what a lot of people believed was a UFO experience, but it's also a very heavily Southern Baptist area, and they just didn't feel comfortable saying it out loud because it kind of, I don't want to say it challenged their religion, but it just they felt like it made them sound crazy to their neighbors, right? But alone, they would all kind of whisper, yeah, we saw the UFO land in that yard, and we don't know what it was, and it could have been U.S. made technology or some government technology or something else. I believe I saw you say at some point somewhere that you believe some of these things are extraterrestrial technology and some of them might be government made. Why do you feel that, and how do you feel that way?
Well, when the psi technical devices are used upon you, it opens up your psi ability so you can connect back, right? And you really have a feel of like the energy or the signature behind it, right?
Right.
So I know what the Greys feel like, and I know what U.S. military technology feels like, and so I'll sense the combination of the two, like an agreement. And so that was one experience I had, was basically projecting other people's experiences into my mind. It's like a conscious manipulation where I in real time and picking up on a recording device that they've recorded on abductees, which sounds
how does that work? Are you doing that by accident because of your own remote viewing, or are they sending it to you, do you think?
They're sending it to me. I know it was a direction towards me because I connected back up as a remote viewer, and I immediately remote viewed into like the craft, and I saw a gray running device, and then I immediately connected into his mind and like asked him, "Why are you doing this? This is a psi device to transmit abductees' experiences into my mind, like severe suffering." It's like a psyche fracturing device. Anyway, so I connected back up into the Gray's mind, and he realized I had enough psi ability to find out what he was doing. So he cut off the machine.
I wonder if they do it. I wonder if they do it to you because you have that ability.
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't get into his mind enough to know. I mean, he immediately cut comms off.
Can you describe the look of them, like how they look? And where they are?
3 foot. Yeah, it was a classic 3 foot short gray. And you sense the energy. He's like AI driven, like a worker bee.
Right.
I really wanted to get into the biological beings there, grays, mantids, whatever. I don't know.
Right, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, when you say worker bee, a lot of people believe these are kind of like avatars sent to do the work, right? They're not the actual biological entity.
Yeah, usually if they're an avatar, you can sense into their energy or their history and know they're more like you and me, right? As opposed to AI. This was AI. I've never experienced an avatar. I mean, kind of I have, but it's kind of rare.
Do you think these things are walking amongst us, whether the biological ones or the AI ones?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of breeding, and I suspect I've been around a couple, but it's hard to verify. They just don't act human properly. There's just a lot of things that are off about them.
Okay, so everyone in Washington D.C. is for sure something wrong with them. I've seen you say, I saw you reference something where you were calling it like a peak year, like 1973 was a peak year. Can you describe what that means?
That was statistics gathered about kind of UFO activity, and that was in regards to the spaghetti-like material coming down, like spider webs.
Okay, is that like the angel hair stuff?
Yeah, angel hair, right. Forgot the word.
Can you walk us through what that was?
I didn't experience that. That was a friend of mine that experienced that, and she shared it on Stuart Davis's Aliens and Artists podcast. But I've heard it from her live in person, the experience.
Interesting. So when you say peak year, it's just like there's a lot of statistical anomalies happening.
Right.
And are there certain, like, were you experiencing things around these peak years?
No,
was it more for you?
They were much earlier. So I think in the mid 90s was kind of peak for some abduction activity. So that was my first real known experience.
Do you think the abductions are still happening? Because there's people out there who are deep in this world who say they stopped at a certain point. Do you think we're still having people, being abducted?
Yeah, I have friends that
really
are being abducted still.
With similar stories to you by similar entities, different ones. I mean,
so if you look at human behavior, we've got a range of activity, right, between good and bad, cruel and kind.
Yep.
And it's a big universe out there. What I found is the range of activity, is like that big. It's like, 10 times larger. So there are so many different groups with different agendas. It's really hard to make sense of, like, who's doing what.
Right. And
none of us experiencers, even getting around, we haven't been able to to say what's going on. What are all the agendas? What are the big programs? We don't know.
Do you think they can observe your past lives the same way you do?
Oh, yeah.
Like, are they aware,
Yeah.
you think, of people's past lives and future lives? Are they like the observer? Like, I watched the show Fringe. I like that show a lot. And they had the people they called observers who were able to, who kind of like alien type people, but they were able to observe all past, present, and future at any point, you know? Are they like that too? Because I'm going back to the idea of perhaps you are targeted, right? Because of your abilities and the things you've been privy to, that you might be of interest to some of them for whatever, you know, experiments they want to do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But this is kind of like getting into speculation. But it's kind of like a near-death experience. They are in an expanded version of time. And so the way they see the world is very different. It's more like NDE years.
And then when it comes to parallel Earths, I believe you said you've witnessed this. Can you explain what that means?
Right. So I had the experience of seeing the Big Bang from beginning to end.
Okay.
And it was...
You got to tell us. You got to tell us how that looks.
It was a photon view. So there's kind of like this massive mind, unlimited mind that created the universe. And it would be, this is like a simulation in a way, and that's the simulator, but it's unlimited mind. And it's got an AI interface to it. So if you're curious about things, sometimes that AI will answer in the form of an experience. So I had an experience where I was watching this massive fireworks show, okay? And I was noticing all the fireworks looked the same. It didn't matter. There was no interpretation anymore. My sense of self that was separate was going away, and I was kind of like merging into everything. And then the finale came, and all of a sudden I switched over to a view of the Big Bang. I was out of space-time. I saw the Big Bang from the beginning to end. A photon view. I saw everything that emitted light, and I saw a trillion galaxies, a trillion stars each. Those are the light emitters, right? And from beginning to end, and it was held in one thought in my mind. And this is like, whoa, I've never been that expanded out before. But you get a sense of knowing of what's going on here. So from the initial explosion, the galaxies form, and you see them, they're rotating. So there's linear movement out. There's rotational moments out. Everything's rotating. Rotational energy is like basic physics. And what I sensed, like immediately, I knew those galaxies are like parallel universes to us. There's like Earths in those galaxies that we can never get to, but that's where they are.
So are they mirror images, you think, of this place? Like, are we there doing this like how we're doing it now? Are there slight differences there?
Yeah, there's variations. So I experienced a parallel lifetime that was not as good. This was my life. And the world looked just like this world. Everything was the same. There were the same people around me, but it was a very different experience. Like, I was in jail for murder of somebody. Wow. Like, we have choices to like let things go or not let things go. Well, apparently I didn't let something go. I murdered this person and I ended up in jail.
Wow.
This is part of the spiritual progression.
Do you think our dreams have something to do with these other places?
Yeah, I think it comes through in dreams. That's kind of a lightweight way,
right?
To interconnect these parallel universes.
Like dreams could be a version of what you're saying with past lives. These other realities or past lives seeping into what you are right now in this material world.
Yeah, I think they definitely creep in. There's wisdom that we learned in all these lifetimes, right? And it comes together and it gets integrated. And that's the healing process, the universal higher mind.